So, it all began in May 2025 when the Department of Justice started investigating Google's partnership with Character.AI. Sounds like just another AI collaboration, right?
Yeah, but this one's got some interesting layers. I mean, Google didn't officially buy Character.AI, but they kind of pulled some sneaky moves to work around that formal merger thing, didn't they?
Right. They licensed Character.AI's super advanced large language model technology. And here's the kicker. Some of the team behind Character.AI, they're former Google employees who rejoined through this deal.
Wait, the same team that left to start their own thing, now they're back? That feels like a weird full circle moment, or like a boomerang.
Exactly. Regulators are arguing that this deal isn't just a simple licensing agreement. They're calling it an informal integration, where Google essentially absorbs the talent and tech without actually buying the company outright.
Which means they can dodge that whole antitrust review process, huh?
That's the idea. And it's why the DOJ is paying so much attention. They're worried this could be a way for big companies like Google to sidestep regulation and tighten their grip on the market.
Honestly, it's like they're trying to play Monopoly in stealth mode. Just slowly, casually taking over the whole board, but hoping nobody notices.
That's a fitting analogy. You see, what's really alarming for regulators is that these kinds of partnerships might become a blueprint, an unofficial playbook for dominant tech players. Avoid buying companies outright, but still reap all the benefits.
Just what? They think the DOJ wouldn't catch on? Come on, they had to know this was going to raise some eyebrows.
True, but proving it's anti-competitive, now that's a whole other challenge. For now, the DOJ's claim hinges on whether this kind of licensing and reabsorbing indirectly gives Google a competitive edge. And well, it probably does.
Yeah, 'cause it's like they're snapping up talent, tech, and, oh hey, market dominance, all in one neat little package.
Exactly. The scary part is if this approach goes unchecked, it could make it even harder for startups to thrive, creating another layer of barriers to competition. And that brings us to the courtroom. Judge Mehta didn't pull any punches during the hearings, pressing the DOJ to explain exactly how AI plays into Google's search dominance, and more importantly, how they'd plan to curb the company from leveraging tools like Gemini to cement its control.
Right. And the DOJ basically argued that Google's turning search into an AI-based monopoly playground. I mean, those deals with Samsung, huge sums just to pre-install Gemini apps until 2028. Come on, they're not exactly being subtle.
Yeah, and that's just one piece of the puzzle. Among the proposed remedies, you've got everything from restricting the promotion of Gemini to forcing Google to share search data with competitors to possibly having Google sell off Chrome or even Android.
Whoa, hold up. Selling off Chrome or Android, that sounds massive. Like, would that even work?
It'd be groundbreaking if it happens. The DOJ seems to think breaking up these core products could level the playing field for AI startups, making room for competitors to actually, compete.
But that's gotta be a nightmare for Google. I mean, they've been defending themselves like their life depends on it, right?
Oh, yeah. Google's been very vocal about these remedies. Their lawyers even called them a wish list for competitors, claiming it's all about letting rivals cash in on Google's so-called innovations.
Wait, innovations? Or ways to just stay on top? Let's be real, it's all about locking down market dominance. And if we're talking about their AI overviews replacing traditional search results, doesn't that just, make it harder for anyone else to compete?
Exactly. And that's where the judge's focus has been, trying to figure out if the DOJ's remedies would actually allow, like, a real competitor to emerge in this AI-driven world Google's shaping.
Yeah, because leaving things the way they are, that's just like asking for another monopoly mess.
So, while the courtroom drama unfolds, here's an interesting twist. Google's share of traditional search has actually dipped a bit, from nearly 90% in 2020 to about 80% today, yet regulators are still raising red flags about dominance.
Yeah, probably because despite that drop, Google's still holding on to its crown, and now they're like laser focused on dominating the AI search space too.
Exactly. Competitors like OpenAI's SearchGPT and Perplexity AI have popped up, but even the courts are questioning if these new players can actually break through Google's grip. The DOJ even subpoenaed them to testify about market barriers.
Which, let's be honest, doesn't exactly scream fair competition, does it?
Nope, not at all. And here's the kicker. Google's AI Overview, built off their Search Generative Experience, or SGE, is seriously powerful. It uses their Gemini model to combine text, images, and even audio to serve direct answers right at the top of search results.
Wait, no more blue links? Just a straight-up answer right there? Doesn't that totally, kill the game for everyone else?
Potentially, yeah. While it's great for users, super quick, super convenient, it could also mean that fewer people explore alternative sources. And that, my friend, is what has regulators sweating bullets.
So, Google's bringing this fancy AI experience front and center, and at the same time shutting down paths for anyone else to make a splash.
That's the fear. It's like even when someone tries to compete, they'd have to overcome these towering entry barriers, stuff like Google's insane access to data, funding, and partnerships with hardware companies.
Wow. It's almost like they're not even playing the same game. I mean, Google's got the whole field to themselves, and everyone else is stuck in the bleachers?
Pretty much. And this AI overview rollout just takes things up a notch. It fundamentally changes how people interact with search, and if smaller companies can't play catch up, well, Google's dominance isn't going anywhere.
Which is why this whole antitrust case is such a big deal. If Google's allowed to keep stacking the deck, we might as well wave goodbye to competition, right?
So, building on all that power imbalance we've talked about, one of the DOJ's big moves is this idea of forcing Google to share its search data with competitors. The hope is that by breaking down those barriers, smaller startups could actually have a shot at competing in the AI space.
Right, but then Google's flipping the script saying, not so fast. They're claiming that these types of remedies could hurt the entire tech ecosystem, especially smaller guys like Mozilla that heavily rely on Google's funding. Kind of a gutsy argument, don't you think?
Totally. And their lawyers are warning that overregulation could slow the pace of innovation in the US, which might, leave the door wide open for other nations like China to dominate the AI race.
Classic scare tactic, though, isn't it? I mean, innovation or regulation? No, why can't we have both? It's 2025 for crying out loud.
That's the crux of it, really. The challenge here is finding a balance, a way to foster innovation while also keeping the playing field fair. And speaking of fairness, we're not just talking about the US here. International media, like Sohu News, is drawing comparisons to historic cases like AT and Standard Oil.
Yeah, those were huge, and now we're kind of seeing history repeat itself, but with a high-tech twist. It's like this case could set the ground rules for regulating not just search engines, but entire AI ecosystems.
Exactly. No matter how this ends, it's going to set critical precedents. Regulations like mandatory data sharing could open doors for smaller players in AI. But if the court gives Google too much room to move, it might just cement their dominance even further.
You talk about a tipping point. Whatever call Judge Mehta makes, it's going to ripple through the industry. This isn't just about Google, it's about shaping the future of AI itself.
And on that note, we've reached the end of today's episode. It's been awesome exploring how AI is reshaping competition and what it means for the future.
Yeah, this was a roller coaster. Can't wait to see what happens next in the AI world. Until then, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Take care, and we'll catch you next time on ZACK Talk.